welcome back to my channel, Staying Spooky, where we keep it spooky 365 days out of the year. I look insane, okay? I was like thinking, I had like this beautiful makeup idea in my head, and I literally look like how I did back in high school. I am going to post what I did get for Creepmas. I didn't get, like, not that it matters, but like, just like, so you guys know. It wasn't like I got a ton of Halloween stuff for Christmas, which is totally fine because I need more Halloween stuff like a hole in the head. But I still wanted to film it for you guys because I thought it was kind of fun. But I really wanted to film a story time video for you guys. I've never done this on my channel before, and thought that this would be a very interesting and fun story to tell. And also just maybe if you're going through a toxic work environment, or you're like, am I in a toxic work environment? Because at the time I did not know. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and shut up and tell you guys this story. Back when I was, how old was I at this time? I was probably like early 20s. So if you guys don't know, I'm 27 right now. But I was in my early 20s, so I was still in college. And ever since I was a little kid, I was like, when I grow up, I want to be a veterinarian. Well, my stupid epileptic brain, I have a learning disability, so school is not really my thing. I decided to be a vet tech, which was like, you can either go to school or you don't have to go to school. And if you do go to school, it's like, like 3 years or something like that. Like, it's not like a super long time. And I was like, I would still be getting to do what I love, you know, like I love helping animals. I love animals. And I was so excited because I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I finally figured out what I want to do. Like when you're in college, or even if you're not, you just figure out what you want to do with your life. It's like a very exciting moment. So I started calling around, calling places, getting my name and application out there. And at this time, I was like, I don't even care if I, don't do tech work right away. I just want to be in, like, I just want to work at a veterinarian office. Like, I don't care. I don't care what job I have. So there was a vet office that did call me, and they lived about 30 minutes away from me. They had an opening for a kennel technician. Now, that sounds so like fancy and like nice. You guys, basically in normal terms, what it is in reality is a doggy janitor. That is what a kennel technician is. I didn't deal with the cats. I just dealt with the dogs at the time. So at the time, I was just like, I don't even care. Like, and truly, I had dogs my entire life. So like, dog messes, vomit, all that kind of stuff really just didn't bother me because I grew up, picking up after my dogs, family dogs, that kind of thing. So it just didn't really bother me. So I was just like, I don't even care. Interview went super well, and it lasted like an hour. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really hope I'm going to get this job. And don't ever do this, okay? I made the mistake. I had a good job. I was a receptionist at the time at a nursing home. I was making above minimum wage. I wanted this job so bad. I put below what I was making currently, which was the dumbest decision. So don't ever do that. Even if you want a job really, really bad, you never know how the job is going to plan out. As I mentioned before, this office was 30 minutes away from me. They did have a location that was like right up the street from me at the time, but they were like, oh, well, we really do the training at our main office, which, was the one that was further away. And I was like, I don't even care. I'll do it. So my shifts started it was part-time. So it was like 7 a.m. to, was it 12? Yeah, it was probably like 12. And I came in, you guys, I had my little scrubs on. I was so excited. I was like, yes, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I, at the time, wanted to get away from my nursing home job, because I had that job how long did I have that job? Like at the time for maybe like 5 years. And I was like, I'm just really tired of doing it. Like I want to do something that I'm gonna, enjoy more and it won't be like work as much. I was kind of telling the people there at the kennel, like, yeah, I currently have this job and I kind of want to quit it. They were like, don't. You're gonna hate it here. And first of all, if anyone tells you that, that is like the number one key sign to a toxic work environment. If no one is smiling, if no one is laughing, if everyone has a frown on their face. There were like 2 techs that were like, I saw getting into an argument. People were telling me, don't quit your other job. You're going to hate it here. And like at the time, I was just like, I'm wanting to go into the veterinarian field. All these people here, they don't want to do that. This is just a job to them. So they're just cranky, and that's the mindset I had. I was just like, I love animals. This is just a job to them. Whatever. It's fine. And my manager was like super nice to me in the beginning. There were hard days, I will say. And there was this one coworker I had, and she was just like really rude. Like I understand everyone has a different sense of humor and that's totally fine, but like I can't, like, again, this was so long ago, I can't even like remember like the exact wording or exact things, but it was just like things that like you wouldn't say to somebody, like especially someone that like just started. And I just remember it made me feel really uncomfortable. I really just was like, oh my gosh, I don't even like working here, because so I was like, let me talk to my manager about it. And mind you, I was only working at this point for 2 weeks. So the fact that I was only at this place for 2 weeks and there was already an issue should have been a sign that it was a toxic work environment. But again, I didn't even know that that was a thing, because the first job I had was my receptionist job and they were very nice to me there, very good to me there, above minimum wage, So of course you don't really, if you've come from like a good job, you don't really know what a bad job is. So I talked to my manager. She's like, I'll talk to her, totally fine. And I felt like things kind of got a little better. So I was like, whatever, kept moving on. And, there were just like, again, it's hard for me to remember, but there were like little things here and there that people would do. A lot of the coworkers were on their phones. I will never board my dog at a vet's office for this reason. These coworkers, instead of letting the dogs out to go to the bathroom, like who were in kennels and boarding at noon, like you're supposed to, like it was supposed to be like morning, noon, evening. And if some dogs got lunch, you fed them lunch. Everyone was just on their phones at noon and no one was letting the dogs out. And it was like, why is no one letting the dogs out? And I remember I would take some of the dogs, like the really nice ones, the ones that were like not kennel aggressive or anything, and I would just like take them outside and like sit with them or just like sit in their kennel with them. And I also remember there was like this other really weird girl, and I think I said something like, oh, the poop can smell so bad. Like that's not weird to say. She would just like this is like, again, another girl. She would just make like weird comments like, no, it's not. Or I think another time I was like, oh, hi, my name's Caroline. And she was like, you met me on your first day. Like, just really like, you could have been like, I don't know her name, like Shelby, or, hi, my name is Shelby. Oh, we actually met on the first day, but that's, you know what I mean? It was just very like dry, like cut and dry. And same chick tried to help her with the dishes one time, because that was another thing. We had to hand wash, right? I think we had to hand wash all the dog bowls and stuff. And I was trying to help her. I was like, oh, hey, do you need some help? Like, you can wash and I can dry. And she just like stared at me. Like I asked her something in like a completely different language. When you start working in a place like that, where no one's doing their job, you're trying to help, but people are just being rude. You're kind of just like, all right, why am I trying? Why am I trying so hard? Another time, there was a guy who trained me. I was having trouble finding a dog's food. They were so disorganized, you guys. So disorganized. And I was like, look, I'm looking everywhere and I can't find this dog's food. And he was just like, well, you're just gonna have to find it. I mean, it was just like, what? You're the one that trained me. You're not gonna be like, oh, let me finish what I'm doing and then I'll help you find it. Like, it was just things like that. And it was always like, oh, let me tell her what she's doing wrong instead of like, oh, you're doing a great job, you know. I mean, I want to know what I'm doing wrong so I can improve, but at the same time, it's like every single little thing you're telling me I'm doing wrong. It's like, am I even doing anything right at this point? Moving along. So it's already not going great. And I don't want to like say what it is, but at the time I was going through something really, really rough. And I, still went into work. I was like, I still gotta go into work. I can't just call out. What happens? But it was me and the guy that trained me. We're in the morning, the morning kennel technicians, and we were supposed to, let the dogs out, feed them, give them water. And typically it was like one person, and man, mind you, we had to let, each and every single dog on the leash, outside, in, it was only like one person doing everything. So it wasn't like, oh, okay, I'll start on this side, you start on this side. It was like one person lets them out, another person feeds them, another person lets them out. It would take forever. And so I was going in, doing my job. I was the only person at this time letting the dogs out and feeding them. I was just kind of over it. I started bawling my eyes out because, again, I was going through something so rough, and then to be at this job that I don't even really like, and I'm not even getting any help. I'm the only one doing all the work. Like, that's not fair to do that. So the receptionist comes back there and she's like, what's wrong? And I was just like, can I just talk to you for a second? Like, I'm one of those people that I'm like, when I'm like upset, I just want to talk to somebody. I'm like, I just need to like get it out and like tell somebody like what's going on. And so I was like, can I please just talk to you? And she was like, no, you can go outside by yourself and get yourself together though. I'm just like, it'd be one thing if she was like, I can't right now, I'm super busy, but if you need to step out for a minute, that's totally fine. But the fact that she responded like that, mind you, I washed her freaking dog one time who was extremely annoying during his bath. So I'm like, that's not technically my job to wash your dog, but I did it. I don't remember what I did. I think I just kind of like laughed, kind of like thinking, I literally thought she was joking. Like, I thought she just had a dry sense of humor. Okay, you guys, so my ring light just died. So we're just gonna have to continue the story, like this with my lamp, and it's like super rainy outside, so I'm super sorry, but I just want to go ahead and finish this. Okay, so we're at the point where I thought this chick was kidding, and she wasn't. So I was already upset. Was it that day or was it before that? I think it was like maybe like that day or shortly after. I was like, I can't work this job anymore. Like, I am so sick of it. I think I had put in an application to Camp Bow Wow, which is the next place I worked, and that was like, that was heaven compared to this job. I did start working at the other location. The girl that trained me there was a lot nicer, but there were still a lot of jerks at that place. There were incidences where, again, I was the only one like doing work, and me now, I would have been like, get off your butt and do some work. Like, I am not doing all of this. You're not getting paid to sit around. Like, that is me now. But a few years ago, I was just like, I need to be nice. Like, I don't need to cause any trouble. There was one incident. So this is like where my manager, the more I talked to her, the more I noticed she just kind of started not caring about anything I was telling her, like any issues, whatever. So, she put me on the schedule for a 12-hour shift. Now, while some people may say Oh, a 12-hour shift. I do that all the time. Like my husband, when he worked in fast food, he did that all the time. But the difference was he was full-time. I was part-time. I told her weeks in advance, I can't work 12 hours. Like I am in college. I do have like assignments that are due and I need to do them. So I can work half that day, but I can't work the full 12 hours. And she was just kind of like, don't you hate it when a manager is like, okay, we'll find someone to cover your shift? I'm like, but isn't that, it reminds me of that guy that's on TikTok. He has like a black mustache and black hair. Like, isn't that kind of your job? Like, you are the manager. Like, you manage the schedule. Like, you, I don't know. I was kind of like, I was trying to find people to cover my shift. Of course, no one wants to work at that freaking place because it's not enjoyable at all, may I mind you. I talked to, there wasn't even a manager at this place, but the girl who trained me, she was kind of like head of the kennels. So I talked to her. I was like, is there any way I can leave at this day? Like, I can't work a 12-hour shift. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. So my head, I'm thinking I got permission to leave. I didn't just leave, So if you guys hear this creaking, it's this really old antique chair. I leave, whatever, and the receptionist at the front desk, who was such a bitch. Like, that's the thing, the receptionist at this vet's office literally thought that they were better than like everyone else because they were a receptionist. She went and called our manager and basically told her I just left, which was not the case. And so I got home and I had a voicemail from my manager saying like, hey, I heard that you left. We really need you today. Can you come back? And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I already freaking told you that I can't work a 12-hour shift. And I told you weeks in advance. You are the manager. It kind of is your job to get this stuff covered if I can't get it covered. And I did get permission to leave. So, looking back, I'm like, well, if she wasn't really the manager or, head, I probably shouldn't have done that. But at the same time, this place was really like working in a hellhole. It was so bad. I don't think I went back that day. No, I didn't go back that day. I don't think I did. I was like, fuck that. Like, why am I going to go back when, no. So, basically it started spreading around. People started talking that I just left and I just didn't care about my job. And so I told my manager like, hey, can I talk to you? And then I was kind of just like, oh, why did I even call her, text her and ask to do that my next shift? I was like, whatever. So I let the dogs, like some dogs out to go to the bathroom, and she followed me, and I kind of like told her, I was like, look, I got permission to leave. Like, I didn't just leave, I couldn't work that shift. And then, she just kind of like some managers just kind of like BS. And then they're just like, yeah, well, see, the difference at this location is it's not as big of a location. Oh, and that's another thing. The other location I worked at that I got trained, sorry, you guys, my brain is just not working. That location, people left early all the time. This wasn't like weird of me to do it either. So that was another thing. And so basically she started telling me all the rules. I'm like, why didn't you tell me all this shit when I started working at this new location? Like, she didn't tell me anything, like no new rules, no regulations, nothing on how it worked, who the manager was, who wasn't, none of that. Like, pretty much just put me there and hoped for the best. And it's like, you can't do that to a worker. And again, it's not like I just left. Like, I did tell my manager, I can't work a 12-hour shift. I'm telling you that right now. I'm not supposed to be working 12-hour shifts either. Like, my boiling point, it was just getting there. And I was just like, this is so freaking annoying. And before I tell you guys this, I just want to say, I am not the type of person to ever walk off a job or, backsass your manager, or, just not do your work or not do your job. Like, I am literally the opposite of that. Like, when I recently just had 3 seizures, I could not remember what my favorite holiday was, but I could remember to say, I need to text my boss. Like, I have always been that way. I will always text my boss, call my boss if I can't make it, if something's come up or anything like that. The prior day that I worked, they also didn't tell me that the one other kennel technician called out sick. And I was like, she's a little high school student. She's not really great anyway. Like, she's not sick. But whatever. They didn't tell me that. So I'm like, so why are you telling me this at the normal time I would let all these dogs out if I'm going to be the only person letting all these dogs out, feeding all these dogs? Because now we close at 7. It's going to take me twice as long. Easily. Feed the dogs, clean up, do all this stuff. Because I remember going to the front desk and they're like, oh yeah, she called out sick. So basically I didn't end up scooping the yard because I didn't have time for it. Keep that in mind. So the next day I go in, there's a ton of dogs. I'm bathing all the dogs that needed to be bathed, doing the laundry, cleaning, feeding the dogs, like everything. I was getting no help at all. The groomer was the one actually helping me and, being nice to me and doing all she could, basically. While she had a lot to do. I got to my boiling point. I was like, I am doing all I can do. These people are being lazy. The only other help I'm getting, I'm not even really getting. And second time this happened, my manager doesn't really care because I've talked to her many times about many different issues. Rumors are getting spread about me. So I grabbed my stuff and I told the receptionist, I was like, hey, tell the boss I quit. And she was like, she looked so stunned. And I could have just honestly left and not have said anything. But at least I said something that I'm done. And the girl was like, shouldn't you tell her? And I was like, crying at this point. I was just like, no, I'm good. And I just left. Oh my gosh, I keep forgetting to include all this stuff. I just had 3 seizures. Okay, give me a break. My memory, literally is not the best right now. Another time when I had worked, I took out the trash because that little high school girl had a date that night. And I was like, look, I'll take out the trash. It's fine. May I mind you, this trash has all the dog poop in it. It's got just everything from the kennels in this trash can. So and the dumpster is very, very far away. So it's heavy. So I'm trying to take it out and I'm noticing something on me and I'm like, what is that? The bag had ripped open and I was literally covered in dog shit. And when I mean covered, I mean all over my arms, all over my scrub top, probably on my pants. It was all over the ground, so I ended up just getting it and throwing it in the restaurant that was next to it, their dumpster. And luckily I think I had a shirt underneath, so it was fine. But this is another incident where I was just like, I'm really done with this job. If I was happy at this job, it would be really gross, but I mean, this kind of stuff happens. If you're working with animals, it's gonna happen. I worked with horses, it's gonna happen. I went back in and was like, oh my gosh. And the high school girl was like, I'm glad I didn't take the trash out. It was just like, thanks, whatever. So I cleaned myself up, but this was another event where it was just again, no one was really helping and it was just me doing everything. And once you are in a toxic work environment like that, you start to become a lazy coworker too, because you're like, well, if everyone else isn't pulling their weight, why should I? And it was just not bringing the best out of me at this job either. We're back to when I said I quit, went home, cried, and I was so scared my parents were going to be mad at me because my parents had their own business and they harped into our heads, you never walk off a job. And I have never walked off a job. I will never walk off a job. That's not me. But it got to the point where it was like, no one is listening to me. I'm not even making that much money. Like, whatever. And again, so my manager like left me a voicemail. She was like, I heard that you said you quit. I just wanted to make sure that, you were actually quitting. I'm like, so you're pretty much saying that this has happened before. That's what it sounds like. This doesn't sound like this is only, this is the first or second time. This sounds like this has happened quite a bit. But I was done. Luckily, I had already put in my application to Camp Bow Wow at this point, and probably, it was only like a week later, I got the job at Camp Bow Wow, so I wasn't really without money. I did have savings. I cannot believe this, but to go get my last check, I did walk back in that vet's office, smiling and whatever, grab the check. I just like didn't care. I was like, my mom was like, you need to get that check. That's your money. Because I was like, I don't even care, whatever. And then once I worked at Camp Bow Wow, I was like, you mean we don't let the dogs out one at a time? You mean the food is actually next to the kennel? What? Like, we actually have a dishwasher? Like, it was a completely different world. Of course, after a while, it did start taking its toll on me. And that is my toxic work environment story. And because of that experience, I was like, I don't want to be in the vet field anymore. I actually have a friend who has been in the vet field for many years, and the issues that I hear him talk about are pretty much like the same issues that I had, and he's worked at many different vets offices, and I'm just like, it just kind of sounds like, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it just kind of sounds like that's how that field is. It's just a lot of young people working, and maybe some of them just have that as a job. They don't really care. I don't know. But it was the worst job I think I have ever had. I have never had a worse job than that. But it did teach me a lot. And it definitely did teach me to appreciate when you do have good coworkers, when you do have people help you out. If you have an awful or toxic work environment story that you want to tell me, you can DM me on my Instagram at Staying Spooky, or you can comment it below. Sorry my ring light went out. I don't really know why. I guess I've used it a lot. Maybe I don't know how to replace the bulb. I'm not advanced in that, so maybe I'll just buy another one. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and until next time, stay spooky. Bye guys.